Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Tuesday, May 28th. Hopefully everyone had a safe, fun holiday weekend, Memorial Day, honoring and remembering those who sacrificed everything for our freedom here. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. So, Jaguars, they had their fourth OTA practice of the 2024 OTA season. Here on Tuesday morning, we were out there. Got to hear from Doug Peterson, from Press Taylor prior to practice. Going to talk about what we heard, what we saw out there at practice today. Was a lot of fun out there. A little bit hot, but a lot of fun. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. You can become a channel member here on YouTube, help support the channel further, access some cool perks, links in the description below. So, as I mentioned, Jaguars, fourth OTAs in the books. The way they're having these OTAs set up this year, pretty much media is allowed to come to one per week, the way it's going. So we were out there last week for the first one on Monday. What are we looking for? We're looking at the rookies, right? The newcomers, the guys coming back from injury, all that fun stuff. Obviously, it's still OTAs. It's voluntary. Not everyone is there, although there is fantastic attendance overall. No pads. You're not getting real hitting. You're not getting real football. Today, they weren't even wearing helmets, right? So you're not seeing a lot from the trench play. You're not seeing tackling. You're not seeing a ton of intensity, but you're ramping up towards training camp. You're ramping up towards the stuff that, resembles real football a little bit more. But as I mentioned, we heard from Doug Peterson and Press Taylor before practice. Doug said that Cam Robinson would not be there today. He has a newborn child, so he is, spending a little time with the family there. I didn't see Etienne out there today either. Travis Etienne, Jaguar star running back. Didn't hear anything from Doug regarding that, so I'm not sure what the situation is there, but did not see Travis Etienne out there. On the McManus topic, Brandon McManus and the Jaguars being sued for alleged sexual misconduct, sexual assault, whatever, on a Jaguars team flight over to London last year. Doug Peterson said he's disappointed to learn about this situation, didn't know about it till this weekend, until the report came out about the lawsuit. He didn't really want to offer further comments other than, again, he was disappointed. And he also said, this release, he was asked about it point blank. The legal situation had nothing to do with Brandon McManus' release. It was purely performance-based. McManus struggled down the stretch for the Jaguars last year. He had some games where he was really inaccurate as a kicker. So I think the Jaguars looked at a lot of different factors and decided to move on, right? And Doug Peterson did get asked as well about the new kicking battle, right? Riley Patterson, Cam Little, the draft pick. He said it's equal opportunity in practice between the two guys. Both of them have done a great job. I'll talk about what I saw in practice a little bit today from the kickers. First real opportunity to see what they had to offer on the practice field for me. Doug did talk about the proposal from the NFLPA about potentially getting rid of or greatly reducing OTAs and then adding on an OTA type period, like something similar to OTAs at the beginning of training camp, which would further extend training camp. To me, that sounds a little weird, and Doug Peterson said the same thing. He said players probably will not like training camp being extended. But he said whatever moves the game forward, that the Jaguars are here for it. Whatever they have to do to get their players ready for the season, they're going to do that. But that is an interesting proposal. Certainly from the NFLPA side, I don't really understand it, but we'll get more word on that down the road. Tom Pelissero kind of tweeted out this morning that the NFLPA is looking into doing that. Doug Peterson talked about Gabe Davis, said they're going to go slow with him. He was working with the receivers during individual, so we were able to see him out there running some routes, catching some footballs. Look, he's a big 6'2", 220-pound plus receiver, and you can see that out there. Looks smooth, looks like he has very good hands, technically detailed as a pro. Still a young player, but good to see him out there a little bit. He had a newborn last week, so last Monday he wasn't at practice. He was with the family, welcoming his new child into the world. This week he is out there. Looked pretty good in the limited action he had. Doug Peterson talked about Tank Bigsby, said he is a hard worker that practices fast. And what did we see from Tank Bigsby today? you do see him practice fast. You've seen that since the day he arrived in Jacksonville. Like Tank Bigsby runs with intensity, runs with power, runs with purpose. He has, very good lateral agility. We've talked about him a lot on the channel over the past week. I think he has the ability to be a very good second back for the Jaguars behind Travis Etienne. He did let another pass hit the ground. I will say it was a bit of a heater from Trevor Lawrence right around the line of scrimmage. The hands have looked a little questionable throughout what we have seen in very limited availability over the last week or so, but looks damn good running the ball. Again, I think with more opportunities to catch the ball, he's going to show more of what he showed at Auburn, right? A guy who has really good ball skills, a guy who has good hands. So I still have a lot of faith in Tank Bigsby, what he can do as a runner and as a complete back. Talked again to press. He was asked about calling plays. He said it doesn't matter who it is calling plays. It's all about winning. And he said from a preparation standpoint, it doesn't change a lot of what his prep is either way for a given game, whether he's calling plays or not. He also talked about Mitch Morris, said he has a veteran presence in the huddle, in the meeting room. He's a guy that won't hesitate to stop things and ask a question if he has a question about something. Press said a lot of the younger guys might wait until after the meeting and go off to the side with someone and ask a question. But he applauded Mitch Morris, his ability to ask questions when he needs them asked, because there's a good chance somebody else needs that answer to that question as well. So Mitch Morris has been a very positive impact, obviously as a leader, but he's going to have a positive impact on the field as well. I mentioned I would talk about the kickers. To me, it's got to be Cam Little. Riley Patterson simply does not have the leg talent that Cam Little has in terms of the ability to kick from distance. I think Cam Little has shown the ability to kick accurately in college over the last couple years. He is extremely young, a guy that, looks like, could be a freshman in college, maybe a senior in high school, but he's got a big leg. He's a talented kicker. He can make it from 60 yards. Riley Patterson really doesn't have that ability, and you did see today Cam Little drilling a 50-plus yard field goal while Riley Patterson missed one. They did do some kicking work off on the second practice field where we couldn't really see what they were doing, but in the team portions of practice where they were asked to kind of go out there and make a long kick, Cam Little was the one who came through in the clutch. The Jaguars, talking back about Press Taylor's meeting with the media, he said that they tried to kind of take it down to the studs of the offense this past year, really tear it down to see what has been working, what hasn't been working, why haven't things been working in certain ways, because they said last year was absolutely unacceptable offensively. Their goal isn't to be a fringe playoff team, to be 9-8 and trying to make the playoffs. Their goal is to win. And when he says win, he means win everything. Right. So they did do a lot of work this offseason, even more than they did last year, to try to really pinpoint what they do super well, what they don't do super well, and how they can move forward and be a much better, more efficient and effective offense consistently in 2024. Did see Eric Armstead and Roy Robertson Harris working off to the side. I got to, stand pretty close to Eric Armstead. That's a huge human being. Unbelievably physical football player. He's still working back, but a guy that I think is going to have a huge impact for the Jaguars. And for that matter, Roy Robertson Harris does not get a lot of pub anymore, because a guy that, he's a depth player now. But I think he's going to be a damn good depth player for the Jaguars when he's able to get back as well. You saw Devin Lloyd out there, and John Shipley talked about it a little bit. He looks like he has put on some good weight, right? He looks huge. And he's always been a tall linebacker, a guy with very good length, but he has really filled out his frame, it looks like, and we're going to have to ask him some questions, see if that is the case, if he was able to put on some muscle this offseason. But he looks excellent out there. Every time he lines up and just, pre-snap, you look across the defense, Devin Lloyd stands out. He absolutely does. Very casual, as I mentioned today. No helmets or anything. Saw a lot of fun headgear from some of the players out there, some bucket hats, different fun things. Haven't really seen that in the past. So that was just an interesting little note. Jarian Jones, rookie corner out of Florida State, 3rd round pick. He's been lining up all over the place, as the Jaguars said he would. his athleticism, just in a micro movement standpoint, really stands out. Like, you see a receiver try to make a move on him, and he has the hip fluidity, the quickness, and the overall explosiveness and athleticism to just stick with guys, stay patient, and win the rep. So he's really impressed me. I thought DeAndre Prince looked really good today. You can see the smarts, you can see the wheels turning. Like, there was an example where he needed to have outside leverage because he had help to the inside, and he was able to establish outside leverage immediately, kick his opponent inside. And it's little things like that that help you win football games. DeAndre Prince showed that on tape, that he's a smart football player. And then you also saw the ability, maybe when he wasn't in perfect position when the ball is thrown, he has that 4.3 speed. He has the closing speed, the ability to, make up ground in a very quick fashion, right? So I think he looks good as well. Christian Kirk, he looked great. Talked about him last week. He continues to impress. Was able to haul in a nice leaping grab touchdown in the back of the end zone and 7-on-7. So it's just good to see him back out there. Him and Trevor Lawrence kind of picking up where they left off. He is such an underrated player in this league and an underrated player for the Jaguars. Brian Thomas Jr., got to talk about the number one pick for the Jaguars, right? First round pick. Looked really good overall. He did have another drop in the back of the end zone where he had to extend for the ball, but I think it would be counted as a drop. He didn't have to leave his feet. He did have to give a nice arm extension to get his hands on it. But that's the type of play you want to see him convert. And guess what? That's the type of play that he has shown he can convert throughout his time in college. He just needs to continue to get that timing and repetition and chemistry and consistency down with Trevor Lawrence. They just started practicing with each other. I've already seen people on social media saying, oh, he's the next Calvin Ridley. He's not going to catch anything. Oh, he's a bust. Like, guys, this is unpadded. This is basically still week one, very beginning of week two for these rookies. So anytime you see a little inconsistency with a rookie, that's to be expected. Did he look like he had suspect hands at LSU? Was he putting the ball on the ground a ton last year when he led the nation in touchdown catches? No. And you generally do see him showing good hands, attacking the football, extending away from his frame to go get it. He just needs to continue to work. And on the very next rep, after he had that drop, on the very next target that he had, he was able to beat the defense down the field, showed that long striding speed, and caught an easy touchdown pass. So he's fluid as a route runner, fluid movements. He's smart. That's part of the reason the Jaguars loved him. If you saw the hunt, you saw Press Taylor going through the film room with Brian Thomas Jr. He has a natural understanding of the game, and he studies at it. He works at it. So I would not worry one bit about Brian Thomas Jr. right now. That's someone who I think adds a lot of talent, a lot of playmaking to the Jaguars offense. Brenton Strange, a guy who second-round pick last year. A lot of talk about him, why they picked him, how he's looking. He had a nice little touchdown catch on a screen today. Another player who stood out to me was Joshua Cephas. I just cannot see him not making the team. He's so damn good. He is smooth. He has great hands. He can win off the line of scrimmage. He can win throughout his route. He's 6'2". He can jump, catches everything. I don't see him not making the team. I really don't. I think he's going to be, wide receiver 6. And speaking of another wide receiver who I think is absolutely going to make the team, I think Parker Washington's going to make it. To me, he is a perfect backup option in the slot to a Christian Kirk. He's a good special teams backup option as well. You did see him lined up one-on-one against Buster Brown in this OTA. It was just interesting to me to see, Buster Brown up on the line of scrimmage, able to get hands on Parker Washington and kind of disrupt the route. Now, Parker is a guy who, again, should be playing in the slot. You're not going to see a ton of press coverage in the slot. It didn't worry me about Parker, but what it did show me is that Buster Brown is ready to use that length and that physicality that he has up on the line of scrimmage, and he's not going to make it easy for a Jarian Jones or a DeAndre Prince to, overtake him on the depth chart. I think he's going to be a real competitor for, one of those high depth spots in the Jaguars cornerback room. That'll pretty much do it Again, not able to see a lot of trench play overall, how these guys are doing, offensive line, defensive line. I know we want to hear more about Mason Smith and some of these young guys, but quite frankly, you're just not going to see that too much of that at this point in the offseason. But really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. If you want to support the channel further, you can become a channel member here on YouTube, get access to some perks, links in the description below. Y'all have a good one.